Hey y'all, it's Bailey with Reclaim Grace. I'm so happy you decided to click on this video today. We're going to be doing some gorgeous Christmas DIY projects using our IOD molds. Y'all let me know what y'all think and which project is your favorite, and we're going to go ahead and get started. I hope everyone is doing well today. Our first project I picked up from the Dollar Tree. For $1.25, I picked up these 3 rectangle frames. We're going to turn these into some gorgeous Christmas frames, or it could be even an oversized ornament. I took the back and the glass out of each frame, gave it a good clean, and now I am dusting this IOD mold. This is called Dainty Flourishes, I believe. I dusted that well with cornstarch because when you work with smaller bits and detailed molds like this, you really need to dust with cornstarch. This will help get this mold out quicker and easier. So once I demolded that, I'm going to lay it on top of my frame, and I did end up casting 2 of these, and I'm going to turn it the opposite direction. Friends, just so y'all know, I have ordered a new microphone and I'm waiting for that to come in the mail. So y'all bear with me on this video if it comes out some bad audio. I hear some funny noises in the background whenever I replay this. So y'all just know I am working on it. We're going to move on to our second frame. I'm casting just with some IOD air dry clay into, I believe this is the IOD frames 1 or frames 2 mold. When I am laying these, I want to cut my corners to 45-degree angles, and I'm just going to lay those over top one another, and I will use a straight edge to cut through both pieces at the same time. This gives you a much cleaner cut and a perfect cut. So I'm going to continue doing that until I work my way around the entire frame. And as you can see in the right corner, I did cast the third frame with Dainty Flourishes, the little corner molds, and I put those on all 4 corners. I'm going to use my Tite Bond Quick and Thick. I finally ordered some off of Amazon. I'm glad to have this glue back in my arsenal, and we're going to spread that out evenly just using our fingers. Feel free to use a paintbrush, but with me, I always use my fingers because it messes up my paintbrushes when I use this glue to spread out because I always forget to wash them. Story of my life with paintbrushes. I'm going to apply this glue on the back of all my molds, cleaning up that squeeze out with a little baby wipe quickly while the glue is still wet. I let my clay dry for about 30 to 45 minutes. Now I'm coming in with some black paint. I'm going to water that down a little bit so it will be a little thinner since this has thickened up over time. This is an older paint can, and I'm trying to use every last bit of it. So whenever I water that paint down, that will flow nicely into the details of my mold, so I do not have to press too hard on top of the clay so I do not distort any of the details. I'm going to go ahead and base coat all 3 of these frames. Just 1 coat was sufficient. Now we are coming in. Our paint has dried and we're going to use Paint Couture Bronze. This is a gorgeous color and I am slightly obsessed with it. I'm going to go ahead and give these frames 2 good coats of this bronze color, letting the layers dry in between coats, and then we will move on to the next step. Look how gorgeous this paint looks sitting on top of the black paint. I did dry my layers in between with my heat gun, and y'all, I have learned some hard lessons this video using heat gun on plastic items I'm painting. I've had the worst luck. I was not moving my heat gun fast enough, focusing too hard on one spot, and I did melt one corner of my frame, and in another project later on, y'all will see what happens. So please use low heat and just try to keep it moving constantly if you do decide to use your heat gun. So right now I have busted out the homemade paper I have in my Amazon store. If y'all are interested, that's linked down below. I cut off some rectangles that I'm going to use as a backing piece to our little picture frames. And then I have picked out some transfers from the Crimson Velvet transfer book. I decided to layer this look a little bit just by adding a little bit of greenery and some Christmas floral in the background, so that will peek from above and below whenever we lay down our cardinal transfer. If you have never used a transfer before, it is super easy. Just peel that protective backing off, lay the transfer down where you want it. I like to press all over at first and use that little burnishing stick and rub all over. When it's a solid transfer like this one right here, it transfers super, super easy. I'm going to pop this back into my frame and then we'll move on to our second frame. Going to transfer this cute little mouse in a teacup on this one, just burnishing very well. And I did, after I got the transfer down, rub it really well with my hands because I will not be sealing over these. Sometimes when I make over frames, I leave out the glass, but with these, I felt like they just looked very well keeping the glass with the frame. So I decided to leave the glass in these. I cleaned the glass very well and then reassembled everything. And this is our last transfer. We are applying to the third frame. I'm just going to tear off that bottom part and just kind of wrap it around the bottom edge and sides. I do most of the time sell my made over items. So we're going to clean up this back a little bit by just painting that outer edge with our bronze paint by Paint Couture. That finishes this off nicely, and then this project is done. I love how the molds really elevated these Dollar Tree frames. I love all three of the cute frames. Y'all let me know which is your favorite out of these three frames. I would price these at $12.95 a piece. Our second project is this book I thrifted at Salvation Army. I think it was a dollar or maybe $1.99. It has a storage compartment to it. I gave it a good clean, and then we're going to come in with Raw Silk by Fusion and give everything a few coats base layer of a white paint. If y'all are enjoying this video so far, please hit that like button and consider subscribing if you have not already. Y'all got me to the 5,000 subscriber mark, and I'm so thankful for that. So now let's see if we can reach that 6,000. Once my white paint was dry, we are using this gorgeous rice paper from Decoupage Central. I'm just applying that with some matte polyacrylic. I use that a lot for my decoupage medium. It works very well. Once I got it attached, I'm going to go over the top with that same sealer, and it is wrinkle free. I love working with rice paper. It's very easily used. Once that paper was very dry, it has to be completely dry or you risk the chance of ripping it. I'm going to use my X-Acto knife and trim those edges off. Once I finished this step on this project, it sat on a shelf for about a week. I was just really stumped on where to go next. I knew it needed more, but I just wasn't sure what to do. One day, I was like, okay, we're just going to add some molds to the front of it. So I brought out the old Christmas tree mold. This is a limited release from last year's Christmas, IOD release Christmas 2023. And I dusted this mold with cornstarch because this is a very detailed mold. And I'm just using my fingers to get off the excess clay. I'm going to bend my mold and flex it, and then I will turn it over and work on the corner at a time, pulling that mold back and lifting that casting out. I'm going to use my Tight Bond Quick and Thick glue. I was excited there. This was the first project I used the glue on once I got it in the mail. So that was my little happy dance for y'all. And I'm going to apply the glue, spreading it out to all those edges, and then I will get that other side glued down as well. And then going to come in with a baby wipe and get up any excess glue that might have squeezed out when we were applying pressure to our mold. Then gonna come in, I think this is Mander Green by Fusion, a little tester tube, and I'm using a pretty small paintbrush here, and I'm gonna give our fern a base layer of this green color. Just being careful around the edges, and if I do happen to get anything on the rice paper, I can come in with a baby wipe and wipe that off. Once that layer was dry, I'm gonna go over the top of it with Carriage House by Fusion, just doing a pretty heavy dry brush here. I did dry that, and now we're going to add some Paint Couture Gold to the little baubles that are in our greenery. I do add some little red baubles as well, and then we will move on to the next step. And I am so loving how this is turning out so far. I still feel like it needs something else, especially on the sides. So I grabbed out Etiquettes. This is a gold transfer full, and I'm going to cut these little border pieces. I'm going to just measure them and cut a little piece off, and we're going to transfer this to the bindings of our book. Whenever you use this kind of transfer, just focus on the place you are trying to transfer and use very light pressure. That's where a lot of people mess up, is applying too much pressure and transferring the gold on the back side of the transfer page that isn't meant to be transferred. So I did cut and transfer a little piece to the other side too. And then I felt like we needed to pick some words out. So I chose this, and I'm going to cut the little frame border off around this transfer, and then I'm going to actually cut this in half so I can have some words to go on the top book and some words to go on the bottom book. Just a reminder for my local people in Eastern North Carolina, I sell IOD products, JRV products, and all of these made over items in both of my vendor booths. And I have that information in the description box below, as well as the addresses to the stores. So once I finish transferring on the binding, now it's time to work on the back of our book. We have to make that look pretty too. So I used my black IOD ink and the ephemeral type stamp and did a little bit of stamping to the back, and then we are going to add this gold gilded transfer. In the final shots, I don't even show y'all the back, so make sure y'all take a look right here when we finish this. I forgot to take some pretty shots of the back of our book. I'm going to use my sleeve to burnish that, and then one of our last steps is to get those pages. I'm going to use that Paint Couture bronze paint here just so it looks like the edge of our paint of our book pages have that gold tint to them. Oh, I forgot about this step. I'm going to come in and grunge this up a little bit by using Paint Couture's Van Dyke Brown Glaze. I watered that down a little bit, and we're going to apply this over our entire book. And we will use a baby wipe and a blue shop towel to pull back that excess. And remember, if you don't like this step, feel free to leave it out. I love a vintage and grunge look on my pieces. So you could come in and just seal it with a clear wax, or you didn't have to add this step at all. So, what do y'all think about our book? I love it. It stumped me. I'm not going to lie. I just had a creative block when it came to this project, but y'all let me know what y'all think. I priced it at $19.95. Our next round of projects are these three ornaments I picked up from Hobby Lobby. This project was inspired by Erin from the Provincial Farmhouse and a Facebook account I follow called Old to Ooh La La. She's on Facebook only. So I want to thank them for this inspiration. It was some gorgeous pieces. I will have Erin's channel linked down below so y'all can see her gorgeous take on these ornaments. So I'm just going to prep these very well, and I'm going to use the Dixie Belt I think it's called Slick and Stick over all three of my ornaments and over the little topper pieces. This will give us a good base layer. So next, I cast the Christmas taper mold from IOD's newest release. I did the Santa, the snowman, and the gorgeous snowflake. We're going to apply our Type Bond Quick and Thick to the back of our Santa first, and we're going to place him on the center of our ornament. I'm going to take that topper off just so I know, or I put the topper on, excuse me, just so I know where to put the top of Santa's hat. Now here is our snowman. I did cut that straight at first, but then I was looking at it and I was like, no, we can do better than that. And I actually cut out the little icicle parts just with my X-Acto knife, trying to make it look as natural as possible. I am jumping around on these three ornaments, just working on them at the same time. So I'm sorry if that confuses y'all. I'm here applying the glue to my beautiful snowman and applying that to the center of the second ornament. I believe the snowflake is my favorite. I just love all that gorgeous detail. I applied it the same way with that Tite Bond Quick and Thick. And now we're going to work on the sides of our mold. This is where Erin's inspiration came in. She used the old Christmas tree garland to run down the side of her molds, and man, it was gorgeous. So I knew I wanted to recreate it. So I just did a partial cast there, and I'm using that Tite Bond Quick and Thick to apply it to the side of my mold. And I did cast another side of this to apply to the opposite side. For my second ornament, I am actually using the taper end of the Christmas tapers for that side detail piece. So I'm just putting that clay into the mold and pulling that out, and I will just trim that with my fingernail to make it a clean cut. And we're going to apply this one to our snowflake ornament. As I'm applying this, I am using light pressure, just making sure I have a little bit of squeeze out on each side, and I'm using my fingernail and my X-Acto knife just to trim that excess clay off. And I add a little bit of glue in between those two joints just so I make sure there's good contact and we don't have any big gaps when our clay dries. I tried to keep these side detail pieces as straight as possible, and I did use a little bit of tape to hold them in place as the glue was drying. And here I am just casting the other taper piece, and I am attaching that to our snowman ornament. I felt like this one fit him nicely with all the little icicle details. As I was working through each ornament, I did clean up all that excess glue squeeze out with a baby wipe and a paintbrush. I gave, I would say about 30-45 minutes for that glue to tack up a little bit and hold my molds where they are. And now I'm coming in with a base layer of raw silk on all three ornaments. In the flat part of our ornament, I am using a tapping motion just so we can have a little bit of texture going on there. I do cover all three ornaments, the back, the molds, and the topper piece. Once that was dry, I'm coming in with Carriage House by Fusion to add some green to our gorgeous Christmas greenery on the Santa Claus ornament. Using a small brush here, just trying not to get any paint on the white, but if I do, Fusion has a built-in sealer, so as long as I work quickly, I can wipe it up with a little Q-tip or a baby wipe. Once the carriage house was dry, I did come in with a light dusting of Mander Green by Fusion on top of that green color. This will just give it some dimension. And here is that other fail with the heat gun. I was drying that Fusion base layer down and I got it too hot and it distorted my freaking plastic, man. I was so upset, but I just did not want to start over, so I actually heated it up a little bit more and pressed those sides in, so maybe it would look intentional, but I don't know. Y'all let me know what y'all think. I'm keeping it as is, and I might just discount this one a little bit whenever it comes to pricing. So after that fail, I'm coming in with that Paint Couture bronze paint, and I'm gonna have to add 3 layers of this to get full coverage. I'm just gonna do the back, and everywhere there is not a mold, I'm gonna apply this bronze color. Jumping back to our Santa ornament, I'm just gonna add a little bit of bronze on his hat. I think this was a cute little detail. And while I had that paintbrush in my hand, I'm going to go ahead and apply a quick coat of this bronze paint to all my little topper pieces. This did take 2 coats to get full coverage. Like I said earlier, I think this one is my favorite, and with this one, we're gonna take that bronze paint and just paint the molds only. And I'm just using a little artist brush here, trying to get as far down as I can on the sides without getting onto our ornament base. This did take also 2 layers of this bronze color to get full and good coverage. Here, I wanted to show y'all what it looked like for a second coat to go on over top of this bronze. You get much better coverage. It really sticks to that first coat. So now with our Santa ornament, we're pretty much almost done. I'm going to give it a quick seal of the matte polyacrylic, which really isn't matte if you've ever used it. It has a nice little satin finish to it, and that's what I was looking for. I'm going to apply it all over my ornament, and then I'm going to let that fully dry. On our snowman ornament, I'm just going to apply the sealer on top of my mold pieces. And then next, we're going to seal our beautiful snowflake ornament. Everywhere there is white paint, I'm applying just one nice layer of that polyacrylic sealer. I did let that dry very well, and now we're coming in with the Paint Couture Van Dyke Brown Glaze. I like to water it down a little bit. It makes it go further, and I just prefer it watered down sometimes. I'm going to apply this glaze all over on all three of our ornaments. really pushing the glaze into the details. And then I will come in with a fresh baby wipe. I will do some dabbing and some wiping. I really like how the glaze looks whenever I tap it instead of wipe. So I will just play around with that until I get all the excess off and I am liking that final look. Y'all let me know. I am loving this Santa Claus ornament too. Y'all have got to check out Erin's video. She does such a great job with the clay in general. Like, she's an expert whenever it comes to clay. She's like one of my favorite YouTubers. Have y'all ever watched Erin's YouTube before? I'm sure y'all have. So we're going to finish applying this glaze on our other ornaments and then we're almost done. And our 3 Christmas ornaments are finished. I love how each one came out, but I have to say this snowflake one is my absolute favorite. Which one is y'all's favorite? Let me know, and I will price these for $12.95 per ornament. And what would y'all price these for if y'all were recreating these to sell? I would love to know. And that is all for today's video. Let me know down in the comments below what your favorite project was. And thank y'all for spending y'all's time with me today. I really appreciate y'all being here, and I will talk to y'all down in the comments. Thank y'all. Bye.